Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the skies of 1943 to uncover the story of a true aerial titan, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt. By the middle of that year, this aircraft wasn't just another fighter. It was a revolution in wings, a machine that fundamentally rewrote the rules of air combat. Initially, many pilots were skeptical. The Thunderbolt was big, heavy, and a far cry from the nimble, agile fighters they were used to. But what they soon discovered was that the P-47's greatest perceived weakness, its sheer size and weight, was actually its most profound strength. This wasn't an aircraft for graceful turning dogfights. This was a predator built for a different kind of hunt. The new philosophy was simple but brutal: energy management. USAAF strategists and veteran pilots like Major Donald Blakesley began to preach a new gospel. Instead of trying to outturn the nimble German fighters, Thunderbolt pilots were taught to dominate the high ground. They would climb to superior altitudes, effectively storing potential energy, and then convert that altitude into earth-shattering speed in a dive. Imagine being a Luftwaffe pilot, scanning the skies, only to see a squadron of these 7-ton behemoths plummeting towards you. The P-47 could sustain dives at incredible velocities, turning gravity into a weapon. And at the end of that dive was a storm of lead, unlike anything seen before. Mounted in its wings were 8 50-caliber Browning M2 machine guns. Together, they unleashed a torrent of over 6,000 rounds per minute. Pilots were trained not to just spray and pray. The goal was controlled, devastating bursts. A 2-second squeeze on the trigger could send over 200 rounds into a target, enough to completely dismantle an enemy fighter before its pilot even knew what was happening. German combat reports from the time tell a chilling story of pilots who underestimated this firepower and were simply erased from the sky. But what truly cemented the Thunderbolt's legend was its almost mythical toughness. While liquid-cooled engines and other fighters were vulnerable to a single, well-placed shot, the P-47's massive Pratt & Whitney R2800 double-wasp radial engine was an air-cooled marvel. It could absorb an astonishing amount of punishment and just keep running. Combined with armor plating around the cockpit and vital systems, this aircraft was built to bring its pilot home. The stories are the stuff of legend. Take Lieutenant James O'Connor, who in early July 1943 nursed his Thunderbolt back to base after a harrowing fight. His fuselage was riddled with over 100 bullet holes, a chunk of his wing was gone, and hydraulic fluid was leaking everywhere. Yet his engine never faltered and he landed safely. This wasn't a one-off miracle. It was a testament to the P-47's design. Another famous ace, Robert S. Johnson, once returned from a mission with 21 cannon holes and over 100 machine gun strikes in his plane. The Thunderbolt just refused to quit. This incredible resilience had a profound psychological effect. American pilots flew with the confidence that their machine could take a beating and still get them home. For German pilots, it was the opposite. Hesitation began to creep in. Engaging a Thunderbolt was a risky proposition, not just because of its firepower, but because it was so difficult to bring down. Commanders quickly learned to leverage these strengths. Formations like the Finger Four allowed P-47 groups to provide mutual cover while concentrating their immense firepower. They operated like a pack of wolves, using disciplined boom and zoom tactics. They'd dive from above, make their attack run, and then use their momentum to climb back to the safety of high altitude, refusing to get drawn into low-speed turning fights where they were at a disadvantage. It was physics winning over classic dogfighting theory. This tactical evolution was backed by the full might of American industry. Republic Aviation's factories were churning out Thunderbolts at an incredible rate. This meant that even when losses occurred, they could be replaced quickly, ensuring a constant and growing presence in the skies over Europe. The Luftwaffe, for all its skill and tactical prowess, simply couldn't compete with this combination of battlefield durability and industrial-scale production. The Thunderbolt's impact was most keenly felt on the vital bomber escort missions. With auxiliary drop tanks, the P-47 finally had the range to accompany the mighty B-17 flying fortresses deep into enemy territory. They became the big friends flying high cover, a guardian angel with a sledgehammer. Coordinated dives by a squadron of Thunderbolts created what pilots called a funnel of death for any German interceptor daring to attack the bomber streams. Losses among bomber crews began to fall. Beyond the raw combat, pilots learned to become masters of their environment. They used the sun's glare to mask their approach, hid in cloud cover, and used terrain to their advantage. Every sortie was a lesson, and this knowledge was constantly fed back, refining training and tactics for new pilots joining the fight. By the end of 1943, the P-47 Thunderbolt had silenced its critics and cemented its place as a cornerstone of Allied air power. It proved that in the right context, overwhelming firepower and sheer toughness could be just as valuable, if not more so, than pure maneuverability. Its legacy wasn't just measured in victories, but in the pilots it brought home and the doctrinal shift it inspired, influencing fighter design for decades to come. It was a story of synergy, a perfect storm of brilliant design, industrial power, tactical innovation, and the raw courage of the pilots who flew it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this look at the legendary Thunderbolt, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories from aviation history. We'll see you in the next one.